Good evening, each and every one of you. My name is Henry Young, and it's a pleasure for me this evening to introduce our two presenters. We see three up there, but we have multiple now. It may grow as the evening goes on. But Scott Keene, and where's Jonathan?
He's right behind me.
Oh, he's right behind me. You can't miss Jonathan. But in any event, they will do the presentation. I have known members of the Bemis family from Pete and Josie way back in the first generation or second generation to Dick and Peter, and now the fourth generation. So it's a pleasure that you're here, and I'm sure you will enjoy the evening program. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate your interest in Bemis. My name is Mike Klein. I'm the Vice President of HR at Bemis, and we wanted to spend some time tonight teaching a little bit about our company history and then sharing with you some of the broad array of products that we've produced over the years. And certainly if you have any questions or things you'd like us to elaborate on, please don't hesitate to ask. We're all excited to be here to teach you about something that we've grown to love over the years. Right, Scott?
That's right, Mike.
All right. So, next slide. So we're going to start with introductions. There are several people here tonight from Bemis, not counting the ones in the crowd. But I have Jonathan Bemis, who is a family member, who's here to talk about his company. Scott Keene, who works in human resources with me and does some work for us in the community. Bob Davis is a product expert for us on the proprietary side of our business, and Megan Hoyce is another product expert. And those folks are going to tell you a little bit about what we make. So we have several divisions of the company. Most people are familiar with the toilet seat division. That's not necessarily where we started, but where a lot of our velocity comes from a business standpoint. We have a group called the Advanced Technology Group, or ATG, and that's where a lot of our contract manufacturing businesses are housed in our structure. We make large parts for companies like John Deere, Case New Holland, Caterpillar, and beyond. And our parts go into their larger products. We have a healthcare division and some samples of that product. Kelch is our gas cap or fluid containment business. We'll teach you a little bit about those products. And we have a new business called Retail Solutions, where we're making shopping carts. We have an example of one here. We make the carts today for Target, if you ever shop at that store. Those are all made in Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin, shipped all over the country and in Canada. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we do in the community. So from a history standpoint, we are 115 years young. And that's not just a play. We try and innovate every day at Bemis to keep things fresh, to keep things new, to keep ourselves thinking about things beyond what we do currently. That's how we've been able to survive as long as we have. There's a third generation of Bemis still involved in the organization. Richard Bemis is our chairman of the board today, and his brother Peter Bemis was our CEO for a number of years prior to his passing in 2013. And today we have our first non-family member CEO, James Feiertag, who started working for us a little over a year ago here in Sheboygan Falls. Fourth generation Bemis family members in the business working today are Jonathan Bemis, who's here. John runs our Retail Solutions business, and Jason Bemis, who runs our Bemis Healthcare business. Little background on the company, I kind of ran through what the different groups are. We ship over 15 million seats out of Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin. There's a truck leaving our dock every 20 minutes from our compression molded wood manufacturing facility. We have locations in the U.S., Mexico, the United Kingdom. We have a location in Amsterdam. We have a distribution facility in Chile. And we're looking to grow. So next slide, please.
It all began with a child's wooden coaster wagon. Simple as it is, this wagon formed the foundation of Bemis Manufacturing. Today, more than a century later, Bemis has grown to a company with prominence in plumbing products and much more. Our presence is global. Our innovations, undeniable. And our success? Well, that's evident in a host of industries worldwide. Yet one thing remains the cornerstone of Bemis Manufacturing: the humble wooden coaster wagon and the innovation from which it came. At the dawn of the 20th century, Sheboygan County was a growing industrial center surrounded by agricultural land and divided by waterways. Entrepreneurs were drawn to the area by its abundance of hardwood and a natural port on Lake Michigan. Among these were the early founders of Bemis. They included Francis Tower Bemis and his brother Herbert, pioneers in Sheboygan's late 19th century furniture industry. From 1868 until 1890, Francis and Herbert partnered in successful enterprises, among them the Bemis Brothers Chair Company. But perhaps their most enduring legacy was yet to be written. Albert Bemis was just 13 when his father Francis died in 1890, but a love of woodworking and an ironclad will to succeed had already taken root in him. It wasn't long before Albert Bemis honed his skills in a variety of business ventures. Among these was acquiring a coaster wagon company with an innovative and patented steering mechanism. Ever the visionary, Albert expanded his business to include wicker and novelty wood furniture popular during the 1920s. And just as his own father had raised him in the family business, so too Albert instilled a passion for manufacturing in his only son. As the shadow of the Great Depression fell over the country, businesses faced a difficult choice: adapt to evolving consumer needs or fail. Albert Bemis chose to adapt. In 1932, he took a chance on a new product line: toilet seats. When a local seat manufacturing company filed for bankruptcy, Albert saw an opportunity to diversify the Bemis product line. Coaster wagons and furniture had fallen off as Depression-era consumers could afford only bare necessities. Among these, toilet seats, something that was used every day by just about everyone. Albert negotiated purchase of seat-making machinery, tools, dies, and patents for a mere $2,000. Eventually, he would acquire a customer list as well. By the late 1930s, Albert Bemis had grown the new toilet seat business to new success with help from his team and his son Pete. This newfound success in toilet seat manufacturing came under threat in 1939. War had broken out in Europe, and scores of unemployed Americans returned to work to construct an arsenal of democracy for the Allied forces. That arsenal demanded brass to manufacture shell casings and other defense products. Yet brass hinges were what joined seat to lid in those days at Bemis and dozens of other toilet seat manufacturers. The solution? Hinges made not from brass, but from a new petroleum-based material, one that was versatile, plentiful, and inexpensive. It was known as plastic. Bemis brought the first plastic toilet seat hinge to the plumbing products industry. This innovation helped the company survive during World War II, gain market share, and solidified our presence as a leader in toilet seat manufacturing. But our innovation has done much more for Bemis, our employees, and the communities we're a part of since our founding in 1901. Innovation is our mainstay. It's a concept that drives our business, our success, and more importantly, your satisfaction. Take our molded wood seats. They're made from a composite material that's much stronger than solid wood. And our rock-hard enamel paint finish is flawless in appearance and water-based, so it's environmentally friendly. Then there's our dual branding strategy and diverse product lines. These offer choices for both retail and wholesale channels. Form and function have reached new heights with our exciting easy close seat that lowers slowly and quietly with just the touch of a finger. And our revolutionary hinging options bring new ease of use and aesthetic appeal to the bathroom. The humble toilet seat. It's considered by many to be a commodity item, but for Bemis, the toilet seat forms a core business that has driven our growth and success over the course of more than a century in business. Moreover, toilet seats have enabled us to excel in a host of other diverse industries. Ours is an uncommon story, one of perseverance, growth, and success of an American company through more than 100 years of family ownership. From the Great War to the Great Depression, through rock and roll and rocket launches to the moon, and from Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin, to the world, Bemis has survived through much history, and we've thrived in the process. We invite you to be seated by Bemis and to enjoy the benefits of products manufactured by a family-owned firm that is proud to be well seated in our second century of business.
The timeline real quick that we kind of saw in the video. 1901, the company started as White Wagon Works in Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin, making wagons, and evolved into toilet seat manufacturing in 1932 with the purchase of the toilet seat patents and manufacturing equipment. On the next slide, there's a little bit more information about some of our key customers. We started selling Kohler Company toilet seats in 1935. We still sell them today, so they like our product. They talk a little bit about how the company expanded. In 1948, we expanded out to the West Campus in Sheboygan Falls, where a lot of our manufacturing is today. The original manufacturing operation was right on the Sheboygan River in Sheboygan Falls at the falls. We no longer manufacture there. On the next slide, it talks a little bit about the evolution of our product line. We did a lot of work in wood. Obviously, we started out as woodworkers, really making wagons. Did things like bowling pins and some of these other products here that these guys will go through in a minute. And then in 1963, Dick Bemis joined the company, closely followed by his brother in 1969, and that's our third generation of our family. And those two ran the company together for decades. And then beyond that, the company purchased a company called Kelch in 1998, and in 2000, the company purchased the largest injection molding machine in North America. It's a 6,600-ton injection molding machine. It's co-injection. We can injection mold in one shot a part the size of a phone booth. And that puts us in a very unique position with some of our customers that are looking for very large parts, injection molded parts, and parts with a lot of technology in it that we're able to deliver. So we have Bob Davis, I believe, is going to talk a little bit about some of our toilet seat products.
Thanks, Mike. Can everybody hear me okay? Sometimes I tend to put it too close and then I blast everybody out, so hopefully I won't do that. Mike was a little bit too generous before. He called me a product expert. Far from it. I've only been with the organization for 9 years, so I'm still a rookie in Bemis terms. Trust me, I am. I'd like to talk a little bit about what you mostly use every day. I'm sure everybody in this room does, toilet seats. It's part of our proprietary business and a very large part of our business. And these are the four cornerstones of what we do every day when we talk about toilet seats, when we live toilet seats, right? Every day. Consistency. Constantly delivering the best quality product to every one of our customers, day in and day out. Innovation. You saw innovation throughout that video. We continue to strive for innovation, okay? Why is it so important to Bemis Manufacturing? Because if we don't innovate, we have a lot of competitors out there. 99% of them are across the water, okay? We have to keep our product the most innovative product available for consumers that there is. And that is so important in this product category because, as I think as Mike had noted before, to some it's viewed as a commodity. To us, it's not. It's our passion. Obsession. I think that goes along with passion. We're obsessed with toilet seats. As strange as that may sound to people, we live it every day, and we're constantly trying to come up with the next best innovation to get to the marketplace. But we don't think these things up just at Bemis. We do a considerable amount of market research. We talk to consumers. We do focus groups. We ask them, how does this product serve your needs? And that's how we get the feedback to develop the innovations that we take to the marketplace. And last but not least, social responsibility, okay? The environment means everything to us. For example, and we'll talk a little bit about this in a couple slides, we use recycled wood for all of our molded wood toilet seats. We're not out there cutting down trees. The environment is very important to us. Same with plastics. We use recycled plastics as much as we possibly can to protect the environment. Here's an example, and this is one of the icons under the rediscovered wood that we put on all of our packaging. Reclamation of wood waste minimizes air pollution, depletion of forest-based natural resources. All toilet seats are packaged in recycled and recyclable corrugate. Okay, very important to us. And this is the middle slide is an example that we put together years ago when we're faced with the Chinese competitors coming into the U.S. market space. Let me talk about VOCs, volatile or organic compounds. They occur naturally in nature, but they also occur as kind of like an outgassing of sprays. Okay, so we put together this pictogram to show our customers, mostly our retail customers and wholesale customers, how our seats are better than the Chinese. So for example, if you see the little can over on the left-hand side, right there, thanks. For every 12 seats that we produce, the VOC is equivalent to 1 can of 8-ounce hairspray. Okay? If you look at the Chinese competitors to the right of it, one is at 46 and the other is at 50. So you can see how much better environmentally we are. And as I noted before, post-consumer recycled plastic, and Scott will show you a picture of one of our toilet seats later on in the presentation. He can explain to you how we co-inject those plastic seats with recycled material. It's really cool. And obviously, made in the USA, okay? All of our manufacturing is made in the USA and Mexico right now. We do have a facility over in the UK in Burnley that services the European market. So just to give you kind of a scale, economy of scale here, over the last 5 years, globally, we've sold almost 100 million toilet seats. So it kind of gives you an idea of how many toilet seats are moving out of our factories. Probably 90% of those are coming from here in Sheboygan Falls for the North American market, which would be United States, Canada, and obviously Mexico, Latin America. #1 toilet seat manufacturer in the world. I think you all know that now. We sell both molded wood and plastic toilet seats. Molded wood toilet seats are made for residential use. You don't put them in commercial applications. The paint will not hold up to the harsh chemicals that people will spray on them to clean them. If you looked at the ratio of seats in the United States, it's about 52% of them are molded wood, and that's for residential. Then 48% make up the plastic seats. And in the ratio for the plastic, I would say it's probably about half and half for commercial and residential. We also go to market under a number of different brands. Bemis, Church, Mayfair, Olsonite, and Beneke. We just acquired the Beneke brand about a year and a half ago. They actually went out of business. They were a competitor of Bemis for many, many years. We had an opportunity to acquire the business, and Jonathan and some other people, my boss Norm, who's the president of the company, made a trip down to Arkansas where the facility was, and they quickly saw that it was not something they wanted to acquire. However, about 6 months after that, they had an online auction, and they're auctioning off all of their, and I hate to use intellectual property, but I will, more like their trademarks, their registered marks, their website address, phone numbers, and everything like that. So we went ahead and bid on it, and we won the bid. So now this gives us an opportunity, mostly on the commercial side, where Beneke still is spec'd in some instances. It allows us to use the Beneke name on some of our toilet seats. As a matter of fact, we're just getting ready to launch our first Beneke branded seat in the U.S. market in another couple months. But it's just as a strategic move to make sure that if Beneke is still on a specification and we don't get a Bemis or Church on there, that we can still win with Beneke. And before, on the previous slide, just a few examples of some of the seats that we make. We make hundreds and hundreds of different models of seats, different hinge configurations. As you can see, we have some with safety sidearms up here. That would be for a chronic or acute patient, maybe in a nursing home, assisted living. We also have our workhorse, let's get dry, 1955. This is in all public restrooms. This is because it's code. And then on the far end, and maybe Megan can do a quick demonstration, that's our next step seat. It's an adult child seat. So the child ring drops down for small rear ends, and then when they're not using it, it's held up underneath the cover with a magnet. The child seat can be easily removed for cleaning or when the child becomes large enough not to have to use it anymore. So it's a very clever design. So in addition to that, it's got removability. Okay, so you can actually install it on a toilet bowl, and when you want to clean it, you can unsnap the hinge caps and pull the complete seat off without taking the hardware off and clean it. It also has slow close, so it closes slowly, so you don't have to worry about it slamming in the middle of the night. And last but not least, something very, very innovative that we developed back in 2008 is our stay-tight fastening system. This happens to be an L-bolt for a commercial seat, and I can pass it around. I have a couple of them if you want to start passing them around. Oh, I'm sorry, dear. Back in 2008, we worked with a lot of plumbers in the field, and their number one complaint was that toilet seats come loose, be it a residential seat or a commercial seat. We solved that problem. We developed this new hinge system that has a little bushing molded into the underside of the hinge that will allow that bolt to stay centered in the bolt hole. Okay? It won't allow it to move. Then we followed it up with a special nut that's engineered to snap off at 80 to 90 inch-pounds of torque, so the plumber doesn't have to ever worry about going back and retightening a toilet seat. No washers. Well, there's an integrated washer built in the top of the nut. That's a good question. No more stainless steel washers. So before you had actually 3 pieces that the plumber would have to hold and install. Now it's just one nut. Spin it on, break it off, and they walk away. And we have that system in both commercial and residential. As I was noting just a second ago, our stay-tight seat fastening system and commercial fastening system, we also have recently come up with our precision seat fit. Probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago, some of the major I call it water closets, so toilet bowl manufacturers, started shrinking their bowls from front to back. Well, we've never had adjustability in any of our seats. So now looking forward, we have to develop hinge systems that have adjustability front to back. So everything moving forward for Bemis will have that. For example, on the residential seats, they will move a 1/2 inch front to back. Some of them move 3/8 of an inch. You really don't need it on commercial, but it's more suited for residential. And obviously, our Easy Clean Change that I just talked about, Whisper Close. Then we have another feature that I didn't bring an example here tonight. It's called Just Lift. Instead of removing the seat from the bowl to clean it, you can lift it straight up and clean underneath the hinges. Another very innovative product that we've brought to the marketplace. Who do we sell to? Well, fortunately for us, we sell to almost everybody. We talk about this every day because we're constantly defending our position. I'm sure everybody recognizes these names up here. We sell to Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, Ace, True Value, and Walmart. However, we don't sell everything to them. We have been very strategic in branding to them. For example, the Home Depot only gets Bemis products. Lowe's only gets Church products. Everybody else on that screen gets Mayfair products. They're all manufactured the same way. The hinges are the same hinges. There's just different brands on the undersides of the covers. That's how you can differentiate. But they're all our brands. We also sell to the wholesale distribution channel, independent wholesalers like First Supply, Gerhardt's, local companies. That's why I put those up there. We also sell to national accounts, Granger, Ferguson. You have a Ferguson here in Sheboygan. Fastenal's here also. HD Supply Facilities Maintenance, that's out in San Diego. But they have the whole United States covered for hospitality. That's pretty much their game. They sell everything that you could think of to hospitality properties, healthcare facilities. Their catalog is literally 3 inches thick. Any questions? Yes, sir.
How closely work with like Kohler when they have a new design for a toilet? Is it style and manufactured?
Do you work for Kohler? I'm teasing you. That's a very good question, because the one thing I didn't add on the slide is our OEM business, because I'm responsible for wholesale and OEM. We manufacture all of Kohler's molded wood toilet seats for them today. We manufacture all of their commercial plastic seats for them today. When it gets to the innovation part of it, we have done some innovation sharing and offering, I should say, of years ago with Stay Tight. They opted not to take it. They have their own release system. It's called a Q2 release system. But we do work very closely with their engineers, our engineers and their engineers. But in toilet seats is not just the only thing that we sell to Kohler. We also sell them generator covers, or I'm not sure exactly some pieces of their generators, right, Scott? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we sell to Kohler today other than seats and the housing. Yeah. But yeah, we work very closely with them, and it's a very delicate balance, right? Because they are a customer, but they're also a competitor in the market space on both retail and wholesale. Did that answer it, or okay? Okay, well, good question. So next up, I'm going to introduce Scott and have Scott take over the ATG side of the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. With all the familiar faces out there, I feel like I'm at a Bemis reunion. There's quite a few. ADF, I'm sure you've heard that term. That's our West Campus out off of PP, referred to as ADF, Automated Defect Free. And basically the ADF idea had come from the late Peter Bemis. He had gone to see a gentleman in 1982 by the name of Edward Deming. And Edward Deming at the time, he was making his way through the different manufacturers in the U.S., but shortly after World War II, no one really wanted to talk to Deming. He was an engineer. He had a physicist degree. He was a statistician. And so most of the U.S. companies shunned Edward Deming. Well, what he ended up doing was going to Japan, and between 1950 and 1960, created the second largest economy next to the United States of America. So a lot of different ideas and a lot of different concepts came from Edward Deming's ideas. And once Peter went to this conference, he came back, and he was a follower of Edward Deming ever since. And I lead that into this ADF facility because part of what we've done in ADF really is some of that process of those things that Peter had digested and brought back to the company. And that's really some of the forerunners of the Deming's 14 points of management. Number 8 was always one of Peter's favorites, drive out fear. You know, the one thing that you really can't do with running a company is have your employees fearful of stepping up to the plate and saying, well, this isn't working quite right and that's not working quite right, and want to be part of the team. So it really created the team environment and the atmosphere which we enjoy to this day. So in 1988, ADF1 was created. And you can see it's 4 what we call sectors, 8 machines per sector, so 32 machines in that building. And you can see the trunk lines. If you just pick a sector, John, you can see the trunk lines. All the machines are robotically attended. So we no longer had individuals going in, opening a gate, pulling a part out, closing the gate, and then the machine would go back into cycle. Robots were brought to bear in the late 80s, and as time went on, we learned more and more, obviously, different uses of those robots. But ADF1, all machines robotically attended. Later on, in 1994, we ended up adding ADF2. So we went from primarily toilet seats and hinges and smaller products being molded in ADF1. We got into the large part molding. And most of the machines in ADF2 range anywhere from a co-injection or a 2-barrel 500-ton machine up to a 3,000-ton press. And later on in 2000, we added another edition called ADF2 Plus, and that's really what housed the 6,600-ton, which to this day I believe is still the largest 2-barrel machine in the world. in 2000, I think the tail end of 2014, we added the addition called ADF3, which was 147,000 square feet of overall space, 110,000 square feet of manufacturing space. So I covered, we've got under house 424,000 square feet of manufacturing and warehousing space available. We talked about ADF 1, 2, and 3 being built. Right now we've got 68 injection molding machines that are part of that complex called ADF. And if we take a look at all the machines from ADF 1 to ADF 3, the sizes range from 250 ton, which is a relatively small machine that would fit in this first row pretty easily, to the 6,600 ton, which Mike had mentioned. You know, we can fill a mold, fill a part in 13 seconds, and that part's going to weigh 64 pounds. So huge capability and huge capacity, which, knock on wood, has been functioning extremely well ever since it was installed. Some of the products that we produce, obviously we're providing innovative and highly effective custom solutions to our customers. You can see we, at one time we had built parts for the Buell motorcycle, otherwise known as, I think in those terms was a crotch rocket, very high speed, low to the ground type motorcycle. A lot of products for people like John Deere. Some of the product that we mold on the 6,600 ton, you know, we're talking about tractors that are out in 500 to 1,000 acre fields. And one of the whole ideas of building and creating the 6,600 ton machine was that John Deere had come to us, and we were working with General Electric at the time, and Cincinnati Millicron. And the bottom line was John Deere was having a lot of problems with their larger tractors, that when they stalled or they had engine trouble, and they're out in the middle of a 500 acre field, which you can imagine, it took 3 men and a boy to lift up that hood to actually access the engine compartment and find out what exactly was going on. So they had come to us, John Deere, and said, you know what, can you guys, you've been building lawn tractor hoods and smaller parts for us over all these years. Can we take a look at something that is going to be quite a bit larger and see how much weight we could actually drop out of that overall product line for that larger tractor? So we had come up with an inner hood, a top hood, 2 side panels, a bumper, and virtually one person now can go out in the middle of a field. You can unclip basically a small lever, and with a spring assist, you can give that a little bit of a push, and it'll ratchet up. You can access the engine, do whatever you need to do to get it back up and running, and one person can pull that down, lock it, and away the tractor goes. So that was quite a success in the early 2000s. As I had mentioned, that's all plastic injection molding out at ADF. We've got multi-barrel molding, up to 3 barrels. We have on one machine where we did have a steering wheel where we ended up with a core, a skin, and then what we call the soft touch. But it was a green and black steering wheel for one of the John Deere lines at the time. Again, large parts, small parts. We also do some extrusion molding out at that facility at our plant D, as in dog, plastic profile extrusion. So some of the panels that you see along the baseboards of this room, that's an example of an extruded product. It's basically a continuous operation versus injection molding being cycle to cycle shots of plastic. We also have a clean room environment where the barrette chambers are being made to this day that are used in operations and medical rooms for dispensing fluids. And this is the example that Mike was referring to. Here's a toilet seat. You can see we've cut the side profile, and on the surface, what you see, the appearance, is, you know, essentially what we refer to as the skin. But now if we would take a cross-section of this part, and you can see where John is highlighting, that's where we refer to as the core, and that's where some materials at a lower cost we can inject in. Think of when you blow up a balloon, say the balloon is orange, and the air that you're using to fill that balloon is blue. You'll end up filling it up, tying it up, and you won't know what the color of the air is in the inside, right? So you freeze it, cut it, and now all of a sudden you see the same idea, the same thought process. And then when you're filling a mold, you're basically filling it with the skin first, and you get that plastic melt moving, and then a second barrel injects the core material, which now pushes that out and extends out into the surface of the tool design. And then once you've got enough core, you end up shutting that barrel off and turning on the skin again to finish fill. So by the time you're done, you have no idea if there's a different material in the core or not. What we did find from a quality standpoint is a lot of the products that we do co-inject, similar to when you look at a piece of plywood, say you've got an inch thick piece of plywood, we found out that it was kind of a laminating effect of layers of material. And because the core material always had a little bit of what we call the virgin or the skin material, it had an affinity to react and grab onto that skin surface. So you've got a really strong, tough product that actually gave us some physical characteristics and improved our product. But before we had even started testing co-injection. So we had some side benefits that we enjoy to this day.
Hi, I'm Megan again. Just thank you for coming tonight. I'm going to talk very, very briefly on our healthcare division. We've been in healthcare products for about 40 years, and we do several different things, including what you see on here. A lot of what we do is keeping patients, medical staff, and the environment safe from infectious waste and biological materials. So we focus on a lot of like acute care, primary care, long-term care, and a lot of other things. Mostly what you would recognize here are what we call sharps containers. A lot of your doctor's offices is where they put the used needles, and a lot of people are having them at homes now. We have in various sizes as well for home care. And then another avenue that we do is fluid waste management. So for surgeries and other doctors' procedures, they can put biological waste into these and dispose of them without them getting out in the environment. So we do a lot of these as well as our medical seats here as well. We do that with our healthcare section too. That's about all I have for healthcare for you.
A little bit about Kelch. As we had mentioned earlier, I think we had acquired Kelch in 1998, which was an extremely great acquisition. And as you can see, we work with customers worldwide, develop reliable, cost-effective fluid management systems. We don't actually make the fluid containment devices themselves, but all of the caps and the gauges that we manufacture go into quite a few of those fluid containment devices. Obviously, we invest in the knowledge of materials and end-use applications, so all of the diversification of Bemis Manufacturing, whether it's Kelch, retail solutions, compression molding, we bring a lot of energy, engineering, and the real wherewithal of our employees to try to make those and continue to make those improvements in any division that we're talking about.
And I'll talk to you real briefly about our newest. Yeah. Of course.
Emerging market, so where it's individual doctor's office all over the place, but then it's also the large offices. So trying to get into all of them.
Delighted my cousin has joined us. He's hiding in the back. He doesn't like the spotlight nearly as much as I do. Jason runs our healthcare division and is whispering the answers. We have a limited product offering, and we serve a couple of important niches, but we go up against huge multinational healthcare products companies like Cardinal and those kinds of guys. So part of the challenge for us is to find innovative products that serve unique niches that are underserved by sort of the commodity product that we compete against. And we've done a good job of that, and Jason's doing a good job with that these days. Does that answer your question a little bit? More niche-y than, okay. Our newest business, we used to make coaster wagons and fiber furniture. We don't do that, but we come up with new businesses, and the shopping carts is a new one. Just go off slide for just a second. About 9 years ago, we started making shopping carts from a design that was provided to us by a major retailer. If you've been to the big red Bullseye store in Sheboygan, you know who I'm talking about. But we liked that business, and we recognized that it had a lot of market opportunity to it. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we started to develop our own design of shopping cart. This is the two-tier. There's also a regular sort of full-size, what we call the full-size shopping cart, that's available as well. And it's brand new. We've really been had a fully developed cart for sale about a year and a half, so it's brand new. It's very exciting. They're entirely out of engineered polymer, so the only steel on here is going to be the nuts and the axles and the wheels, and everything else you see is plastic. So we took all of our plastics expertise and brought it into these carts. We think we've built a better mousetrap, and it's kind of cool. We're at Whole Foods. We're at the festival in town here, so if you've been there, those are our carts. I hope you like them. If you don't, let me know. If you do, let me know. They are new. Yep, they've been there about a year. Do you like them? Excellent, good. Thank you. If you don't, let me know afterwards. Piggly Wiggly out in Plymouth has got our carts. We just signed an agreement with Quick Trip, which is a Wisconsin-based family-owned company like ours, to supply them with this size carts. Some of their bigger convenience-style stores will take a half a dozen of these. It's small business, but we're getting there. And we've got some big grocery chains that you'll probably have heard of that are on the horizon we're working with now. So, part of the theme here is that we haven't done the same thing for all 115 years of our existence. We keep doing new things and exciting things, and this is the newest. I don't know if it's the most exciting, but we're trying it. So, thank you. How many parts? Oh, that's a good question. Primarily, you've got the frame. The frame is all one piece. Then the handle's another piece. Bottom and top basket. The tray for holding items on the far bottom. And then there's a gate, a swinging gate that allows for nesting. The full-size cart has a couple more components for the child to sit in. But all in all, a dozen-ish, in the full-size cart. Some of them are, for example, the basket's held in the frame, really it's sleeved on, it's press fit, but a lot of them are with plastic fasteners that we also developed ourselves, so two-part, like barb type or Christmas tree type fasteners that hold the whole thing together. So no screws, no glue, no bolts, nothing like that. Nothing to rust, nothing to fade. Yeah?
That swing gate was the best invention yet.
Thank you.
2 inches on that shelf this morning. Oh, I'll never go. When I gave it a shove, and it
Excellent.
invented that to get a raise.
Perfect. Wasn't me, unfortunately. Question. What is the lifespan on the carts? That's an excellent question. What we know is that for the Bullseye folks, we've had carts in the field in places like Bullhead City, Arizona, and Miami, Florida, for 7-8 years, and they're holding up really, really well. Again, all of that knowledge we put into this. And again, we've only had this for sale about a year and a half. Our big pitch is, hey, you could buy a cheap cart. We're making a little bit nicer cart. This is really more of a Cadillac, but it's going to last you 2-3 years longer than your competitor. So your total cost of ownership is going to be better if you make the investment. So that's what we're trying to do. Other questions about the carts? Yes.
I have a question. I'm sorry, in that big robots and that big
Yeah.
did you have orders for that, or what made you think the sales or design, something like that? It must have to be a special order for you to get it.
Good question.
Do you have a lot of orders to make it worthwhile, and who would have thought of doing something like that?
Good question. So the question is when we built that giant 6,600-ton press, did we have orders ready to go? As Scott talked about, we worked very closely with John Deere to make the hood for these major, large agricultural-sized tractors. We also partnered with the resin supplier, right? At the time it was General Electric, because GE knew that if they could sell plastic 60 pounds at a time, that they were stand to make a lot of money too. And the machine supplier helped as well because they really wanted to sell this big giant machine. So it was really a four-way partnership between us, John Deere, Millicron Machinery, and GE at the time to build this machine. If I recall, we had about 50% of it sold when we bought it, when we installed it. Huge. That machine sits. Yeah, that machine sits on a concrete footing that I think is 12 feet deep. So it is a big machine. It's about 70 feet long, 24 feet wide, and 18 feet high. So I've lived in apartments smaller than that. Yeah, it took 30 truckloads of concrete to pour the footing. So it was a massive undertaking. And today we make different products on it. Those programs with John Deere came and went, as all programs do, but we make a number of different products, for other customers on that machine. So it's still pretty well. In fact, it's a little heavily utilized today. We're trying to make it a little bit more efficient so we can squeeze some more out of it. So, all right, what do we have next? You got the clicker?
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the community things that we're looking at. A little over a year and a half ago, I had the opportunity to move from manufacturing, which I spent the first 21 years of my career in compression molding. So I had, as John would attest to, I had sawdust running through my veins. And the next, from 1999 to 2014, I was a plastics guy. So both sides of the hemisphere for the Bemis operation, which has been terrific. An opportunity came up, and as Mike had mentioned earlier, I'm working for the HR group now, and had gotten an opportunity to take some of the manufacturing wherewithal that I've got and have attained over the years, and now I'm allowed to get out and work with elementary school, middle school, high school, technical colleges, going to job fairs, and really be able to get out there and talk quite a bit about manufacturing, and that manufacturing isn't necessarily what it used to be, because now you go into facilities like Bemis and they're clean, they're well lit, high automation. There's a lot of things that go into making a product, and kind of shaking the mindset of what a quote-unquote factory used to look like. In fact, we don't even like to use the term factory at Bemis. It's a manufacturing facility or facility. So we focus on 4 different areas right now. We've got youth apprenticeships, we have co-ops, internships, and job shadows. And what this graphic depicts is, this is actually 3 different companies within the Sheboygan area. And what we wanted to do was take a look and see where is the growth necessary, and where is it going to come from to support these technical positions and jobs that Sargento, Rockline, Bemis, Kohler, all the tremendous area companies are going to need in the future, because if you pick up a newspaper, look at the internet, you always read plenty of different articles about what's called the skills gap. And unfortunately, there is a gap out there at the moment with getting young men and women excited about building things and being able, become good troubleshooters. And a 4-year college isn't for everyone, but a 2-year college certainly is another pathway that can get people to go into Lakeshore Technical College and learn a skill or a trade, and live in the Sheboygan area or Sheboygan County and live very comfortably. So what we're really diving into, as you can see, between 2020 to 2024, we've got a major spike that's showing the immediate need, the turnover, the attrition, and the growth. So, and this graphic actually was something that we had put together through Sheboygan North and South Red Raider Manufacturing. So this graphic is already probably 6 months old, and we're on the verge of updating this, and unfortunately it's not going to look any better. It's probably going to look worse. So we're out there now from a corporate standpoint, getting young men and women interested in getting out into job fairs and talking about what we do and why we do things. So starting with youth apprenticeships, we've had our first youth apprentice this year, a young man from Plymouth High School. And basically what it is, it's run through LTC Technical College. So young gal, young man, they come in. They've got to put at least 450 worksite hours into the apprenticeship. And that can be done using multiple employees as part of the trainers or mentors. But we've got one primary mentor this year. This young man is actually in our engineering group. So we go through the same process as if we're hiring a brand new engineer, because Ben he's got a clock number. We pay him, and he's essentially a Bemis employee at this point. There's 4 different grading periods during the course of that youth apprenticeship. So we stay very close in touch with LTC. Obviously, we follow all of the child labor laws depending on the age. Ben happened to turn 18 years old back August. So this is one area where a student is able to come into a company, work for 450 plus hours, really kind of get the ins and outs of what we do and how we do it, which going forward is a great snapshot for that individual to go back to when he's going to be going to college after he graduates this year. This is all for high schoolers, not college students, but to be able to go back to college and, who knows, maybe next year when he comes back, we might have an internship position for him. So it's a great way to get young students to come in and really see what manufacturing is all about. Yes. Right? I'm going to get to that. Oh. During the summer, they put in an 8-hour day. And then during the school year, Ben happens to be in athletics. So he puts in roughly 2 hours a day. That it's during the school day, but it's part of the curriculum when you're a youth. Yes. Yep. The other area that we're venturing into are co-ops, and this is also something that was born out of the Red Raider manufacturing conversation, and that is putting together a 90-hour co-op. What better way to get a flavor for manufacturing in a very short period of time, but put together a co-op where, again, we'll pay the student to come in. And in this case, you'll see week 1, they'll come in and there's 2 hours in a number of different areas. I don't know if you can read those descriptions, but essentially you're going through orientation, safety orientation, and quality assurance. We go through starting at our Plant B's facility so they can get an idea what compression molding is all about, the pulverized wood products. And then we'll move on to the finishing department, which is the next step in the thermoset division, and following that, that student will end up going to the hinging department and get a flavor for what they do on the hinge line. Once that's complete, the student will move over to the plant, or the West Campus, Plant E, and they'll spend some time with our electrical maintenance, die maintenance, and machinist staff and get an idea what CS2, our Central Service and Supply, does for the corporation. Then they'll end up moving into ADF 1, which we talked about, orientation and training. They'll get a flavor for some machine operation in sectors 1 through 4. Then they'll move on to the larger part molding. And then from there, they'll start working with our production setup and get a flavor for now kind of the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of how an injection molding press operates and functions. So by the time that 90 hours, when we hit that 90 hours, that individual has a very well-rounded and full spectrum balance of what we do from a manufacturing standpoint at Bemis. Internships is something else that is relatively new for us. We've already had a couple students last year and a few this year in engineering, maintenance. We had a young man from Sheboygan Falls High School that's extremely interested in finance. He did a job shadow with us, and we're looking at trying to create a internship for him this summer in our finance department, as well as a lot of interest lately at job fairs with students coming up and asking whether or not there's anything at Bemis related to chemistry. So there's quite a few students, and we did have quite a few job shadows last year in our lab area and our chemist work with our guys and gals, and there's a huge interest out there. And we've also had internships working with Bob's group in the marketing area. And the last area actually is the job shadowing experience, and this is where through Inspire, which I'll get into in the next slide, but essentially if someone is interested in wanting to shadow me for 3 hours and see what I do during the course of the day, we're creating an environment so that within 3 hours we can have a student go through and be able to work. And now we don't try to keep that student with one person. We try to break it up into different areas. What we'll end up doing is, and you can see some of the positions on the left-hand side, mechanical engineering maintenance. That finance individual, he ended up spending 3 hours in that job shadowing experience. 1 hour with head of finance, another hour with accounts payable. So we try to, again, even in a short period of time, try to give the student as much flavor in the job shadowing experience as possible. But essentially the process is very consistent. We'll meet and greet at the corporate office entrance. If the job shadow takes place at Plant B, great, we stay there. If it doesn't, we hop in the car and we drive over to our Plant E or West Campus. I always explain a little bit about myself, my career path at Bemis, and then get into the introductory to the Bemis history. And then we'll go back and I'll introduce that student to the first hour mentor and second hour, third hour. And then what we like to do is wrap things up. We'll go to the local restaurant in Sheboygan Falls, Twisted, and we'll meet there for lunch with the job shadowing team. And that's a nice way to kind of tie up any loose ends, talk about some of the takeaways and maybe some of the next steps, and get some real good, solid feedback from the student on what how the experience worked for them. Because obviously we want to hear again the good and the bad to make sure that we continue to refine and make this process better and better each time around. This last slide shows some of the, from an education and alliance organizations that we participate with. Roy, your question regarding Sheboygan Falls. What we ended up doing as we were working with Sheboygan North and South at Red Raider Manufacturing, we also had teacher externships and other things going on with Sheboygan Falls. So the last 2 years, we've had, the first year was 7 teachers, last year was 15 teachers that come on site. We put together a one week kind of a platform for them to go through from project concept and process identification. By the time we hit Wednesday, we end up visiting people like Plenko Plastics, who provide the phenolic resin for our compression molded wood toilet seats. We have a packaging company that comes in from Milwaukee to talk to the teachers about how we use packaging and why it's so important. When you make a quality part, you want to make sure it's in the proper packaging. To Friday, which is kind of graduation day for the teachers, but then on that day we tie up all the loose ends in making sure that the things that we discussed on Monday through Thursday, now we're out on the shop floor, we're looking at the products, we're looking at the tooling, and really getting into more of the nuts and bolts of what happens in manufacturing. So that's a week-long externship. What came out of those discussions, Roy, was a need for something that, the question keeps coming up, why isn't there a school that is focusing on more of a plastics technology standpoint? And we started having some discussions, and a number of contacts that I've made over the years when I worked in ATG Group, started having a few of those conversations and finding out whether or not, could we get a machine possibly that could be housed at Sheboygan Falls High School. And after a number of conversations with a few of my contacts at Millicron, turns out that we were able to get our hands on a 33-ton machine, which the first couple conversations that we had, it turns out that they have actually given machines to certain colleges, but this will be the very first machine to come to a high school. So in fact, that machine should be arriving in Sheboygan Falls either Friday or Monday of this week. So we are going to acquire a 33-ton press. The press has all of the Bemis, what we call packages from a software standpoint. So at the end of the 2-year commitment with Millicron, we can either purchase the machine and add it to our fleet, or they're happy with us putting it, creating it back up, shipping it back to Millicron after the 2 years are over, and they would send and deliver us a brand new machine to keep the students updated on current technology. So it's a win-win not only for us, but obviously for the school and the students. So there was basically a $0 purchase order was put in place to get that machine to bring it to Sheboygan Falls. Well, that's a great question, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, because sometimes they don't know. But the thing that is even a little bit more difficult to answer, I think, at times is the student comes in and they think this is an area that would be great. I'd love to do this for the rest of my life. And they spend an hour and they're like, you know what? Well, I'm glad I did this because I really don't, this isn't what I really want to do for the rest of my life. So it's either way, it's the exposure, and that's really what we're looking for. Yep. Can you pop that slide back on there for a second?
That was it.
Yep, just back up one more. Next one. There you go. So with Sheboygan Falls School District, I already talked about Red Raider Manufacturing with the Sheboygan North and South. We've had a busload of 30 students come in from Pulaski. Got a call from their technical ed instructor, and he said, you know what? The kids up here, all they really know about are paper mills and that type of equipment. I'd love to get them down and visit Bemis Manufacturing and see what you guys do from a plastic standpoint. And I'll tell you, those 30 kids, they came in. We had a presentation in our large conference room, and prior to going out, they were kind of quiet, asking a few questions. We went out on the tour. We got back into the room, and I could barely keep them quiet. They were just buzzing about the robots and the equipment, and I couldn't believe how clean it was out there. And, I mean, some really tremendous comments from some young students. Project Grill is another area we're sponsoring, actually, Sheboygan Falls High School this year, and we're coming down the home stretch. So if any of you are interested, May 21st, which is a Saturday this year, we're going to be having the unveiling. So you'll see the Bemis Grill that the students of Sheboygan Falls have been working on. You know, at the end of the day, the grill is kind of the finished product, but all of the planning, engineering, you know, Jim might be a finance guy and Sue might be working on inventory. You know, all of this is done by the students. We're there to help, support, and coach, but the students are the ones that are actually doing all the designing, the fabricating, the assembly, the painting, everything else. One last thing I'd like to just mention, Lucas Group, we're also looking at, when you talk about trying to bring talent to the area, we go to a number of military conferences, and we've actually acquired and signed on 2 individuals just in the last year from the military, one from Navy, one from Army, that are now working at our facility. But from a military standpoint, those conferences are tremendous. A lot of young men and women that are coming out of the service that really, you know, they want to, you know, put their roots down and they want to work for a company. And when we start talking about our culture and what we do, you know, we're always ranked in the highest levels when we end up closing up those conferences, and we'd love to hire all of them, but obviously we can't. We're going to finish with a very short video, but we won the Economic Driver of the Year Award in 2014. And Richard Bemis is going to open this one up.
Sheboygan County, one of the best places in America to live, work, raise a family, and even grow a world-class company.
When I began my career, there were about 15 competitors in toilet seats, and today we're the last independent toilet seat manufacturer to survive in the United States.
When Albert Bemis and Arthur White incorporated White Wagon Works on the outcroppings of Sheboygan Falls in 1901, little did they know they would set sound footings for the largest toilet seat company in the world.
In the 30s, an opportunity came along to make toilet seats with our woodworking equipment. That was really the beginning of our toilet seat product line.
Today, Bemis employs over 1,600 people in North, Central, and South America, and throughout Europe and the Asian Pacific.
One thing led to another, and we moved away from woodworking and began making seats out of plastic.
As a custom molder, Bemis is among North America's top non-automotive producers of plastic injection molded, profile extruded, and compression molded components.
One of the reasons we've been successful, like so many other companies in the county, is that we have a passion for the product we make. I've been fortunate that my grandfather, my father, and my brother were all passionate about toilet seats. Without their foundation that they laid, it would be a different company altogether.
Bemis's state-of-the-art, fully automated, climate-controlled manufacturing operations feature multi-axis robotics for high-quality, high-speed precision molding, the product of a passionate pursuit for perfection, which has led them to over 250 design and process patents and a seat in the Plastics Hall of Fame.
In 2013, we added a 110,000 square foot addition to support one of our new product offerings, and that's going to be all plastic shopping cart for retail. We've been making shopping carts for the Target Corporation for the last 5 years, and we decided to tool our own Bemis cart, and we're just launching it this year in 2014. Because of the economy and because of the new product offerings that we're coming up with, we continue to hire and expand the employment in Sheboygan County. We really find that the workforce in Sheboygan County is the most productive workforce that we've got in any of our facilities. We couldn't do what we are doing today without the talent and the skills that the employees bring every day.
Bemis quality and innovation provide the strong roots upon which this family-owned company is firmly planted. From this, they have built a company accustomed to thinking and acting differently, relentlessly advancing their technologies and expertise in precision plastics manufacturing, and ensuring the utmost value in everything they do.
If you guys have any additional questions or anything you want to ask about, or if you want to elaborate, if you want us to elaborate on anything else that we talked about, feel free. Yeah, and after that, if you'd like to come up and check out the products, we'd love to have you do that. So, yes.
What's your test lab? Excuse me. What's your test lab like?
Which one? Question is, what's our test lab like? We have a number of different labs in our facility. We've got a lab that we built specifically for testing our retail carts, including one that simulates it rolling through a parking lot and hitting a car door, because that's important. We have one that's for testing our gas cap products so that we make sure that they don't leak, that they hold up to gasoline and other additives. Our toilet seat lab is awesome. It's really pretty cool. We've got a bunch of fixtures and machines that will eternally, right, with a cylinder, raise and lower toilet seats, right, all day, 24 hours a day, for hours and hours and hours at a time. We have machines that will wobble the toilet back and forth to see how loose it will get versus, when Scott talked about our stay-tight system, our stay-tight system won't come loose 10 times as long as a standard steel bolt and nut assembly. So, yeah, we've got a bunch of different ways of testing all of our different products to make sure that they're meeting the requirements that we have for them.
products that you thought you could put together that you didn't decide
Well, sure. If you on the table, there are a couple of products that we don't make anymore. Megan, do you want to see the bowling pins? We made those for years and years and years, turned and glued together. The croquet balls. We made croquet and bocce balls for years and years. We don't do those anymore. The guitar body next door. We briefly made actually guitar bodies for Gibson. That didn't last that long. Maybe one of the big let's call them failures is the hickory stick, the bat. We made a hickory laminated baseball bat, and it's indestructible. But it when you would hit the ball with it, it would just ring like a tuning fork, and people were complaining about how much it hurt their hands. So any good company has got successes and failures. So there's a couple. So yeah, there was one. Yes, question.
the new rail line that was put in, is that coming back on some semi-traffic?
Yeah, we are utilizing the new rail line. We're able to bring in some materials in bulk. That's reducing some semi and bulk truck traffic, and it's saving us some money on the material costs, which is, again, an important competitive edge against Chinese competition.
How many semis does that take off the road?
Oh, I don't know if I could answer that. Yeah. What's that? That's correct. And in fact, there's a number of those. We feed ourselves in a bunch of different cases. What he's referring to is the hooks that our seats are hung on, our wooden seats. We don't have one here. They hang on hooks vertically, and they go through our waterfall paint process and then through the drying of it. And it takes, how long does it take, Scott? Almost 4 hours from painting till done. We make those hooks and we sell them only to ourselves. We also, in our extrusion department, make a rail, like an 8-foot rail that's got notches in it that fit perfectly with the wheels of our shopping carts. And it was a way that we came up with to bind them together and put them into a truck on a forklift. So we do a number of that. We make products just for ourselves. Other questions? Yeah.
You talked about mentoring and taking them to the shop and taking them for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much a conservative. Who buys the lunch?
I think we buy the lunch. We can afford a lunch for a young man or a young woman who's interested. Yes. 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 The vast majority of our injection molding machines are made by Cincinnati Millicron, or they're called Millicron. They used to be called Cincinnati Millicron. They're out of Ohio. A few of them are German. Yes.
For your contract products, who owns and makes the dies for them?
The customer, good question. Who owns the dies and products for our custom products? The customer owns the design. They share with us the design, and we will make some suggestions on how to make it more manufacturable. They pay for the tooling. We oversee the construction of the tooling so that it's built to our injection molding standards. So they own the tooling, and we own sort of the machinery and the process of making it.
Well, that was kind of my question too. But what happens if that bullseye is sold and the same products could be used, but a different logos could be put on there? Does the company come to you and change your machine? Do you send this big machine back to where?
Good question. Good question. So there's two parts to injection molding. There's the machine, which we own, and then there's the tool. So now we own, so the tool is a big giant piece of steel that's got a cutout, like a Jell-O mold in the middle of it. So when it's a Bemis product, right, we own the tool. When it's a custom product for somebody else, they own the tool. So for example, that was a good question. You remember the John Deere hood? So let's say there's a vent along the side, and then they discover that if they make the vent a little bit bigger, the engine runs more efficiently and they save gas. They will typically, sometimes not always, but typically they'll pay us to have the tool sent out to a tool maker to have it opened up from 1 inch to 1.5 inches and then bring it back and mold more parts. Does that help?
And who does that modification?
Oh, there are a number of toolmaker partners that we use, a number of them in Wisconsin and around the rest of the country, a couple of overseas as well. big guys with big, huge, giant metal cutting machines. Makes our stuff look almost amateur. It's amazing what these guys can do. What else? Yeah.
To address your neighbor concerns, do you hire retirees on a part-time basis?
We do. That's a great question. Thanks for setting that one up. One of the cool things about our labor force is that we have about, well, I'm going to be rough here, about 1,600 full-time union employees. We also have a number of several hundred casual part-time employees that work 1 to 3 days a week. And can choose a different set, so they can work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or they can work the weekends, or they can kind of pick and choose where they want to go. And yes, we've got school teachers, moms, stay-at-home parents, retirees, all those kind of folks do work in our casual workforce, and they're a huge part of what we do and how we sort of ebb and flow with business needs and concerns. Other questions? Are there history questions? I know this is the Historical Society. I don't want to let that go. The question here is from our former corporate attorney. And how long were you at Bemis, John? Four plus decades. And in the spirit of a family business, his son David, who's about my age, is now our corporate attorney. So that's, it always continues on. We did make the lawn furniture, as you guys are probably familiar with, for years and years and years. We struggled in that business towards the end because a lot of folks were making knockoffs and they were coming in very, very, very cheap. So it was a business we felt we had to get out of. Another one of those that you do and then you don't do anymore. So, any other questions? So, did that help, John? So never. I do have one quick sort of historical story, and I've got some color. Yeah, come on up here. Come on up here. I'll let you introduce yourself. No, it's good. It's good. You wanted to? At least introduce yourself.
Roger McCoy. I've been at Bemis for 40 years. My dad was there for 40 plus years. I think Jason knows him. John knows him. A lot of, he, when he first started that, he told us a lot of stories. When he first started at Bemis, they came up and told him that, right now, guys, we can't pay you, but if you stick with us, we make it up to you. Well, a couple of the guys left, but he stayed around, and Bemis did take very good care of our family. Even that he stuck it out and stayed there with them.
So here's 80 years, right, represented in this family of Bemis experience. And you've got siblings and cousins?
My wife works there. I had a whole family works there. My uncles, all of us.
And there's a lot of that. It's a family business, and meaning it's family owned, but of course there's a lot of families like John and Dave, the McCoy family, the Boy family, that have committed a lot of their family members to Bemis, and that's the thing that we take very, very valuable. And what Roger didn't tell you was that the person who came to his father and said, hey, we're not going to be able to make payroll for a little bit here, was actually my grandfather, Jason's grandfather, FK, Francis Pete Bemis. But the loyalty that the employees showed him then is we try and pay back every day. So, any other questions? Yeah, a couple more, yes. We still to this day have a college program for children of our employees to come and work over the summer and occasionally over like the Christmas break holiday. Love to have that family involvement. That's part of where we get our new young workers from. And then there was one in the back. Yeah. Shutbox is remember Shutbox, a dice game with we made that for years and years, but again, that was one of those things that came and went. That's one of our histories. We're so associated with toilet seats, but we've only been making toilet seats for about 90 years, so it's still a relatively new category for us. But we always want to change. Yeah. probably could. I don't know if we'd sell any. I'll tell you, like the small consumer goods market that used to be a huge part of our injection molding, a lot of that has been taken over by China. So we try and come up with a new business that's tougher for it to be knocked off or imitated. It's a big part of our innovation. Yeah.
Will the wheels on your shopping cart develop a nasty habit of the wobble and the flat spots?
Never. Never. Best carts in the world. All right, if there's nothing else, I invite you guys to come up, take a look at the products. We'll answer questions about them. Here's Henry.
I want to offer special thanks to all the presenters from the Bemis Company Manufacturing Company. We're here today. Jason's at the back. As a courtesy, would you like to come up and say one or two words? And then I'd like to close by asking Travis Gross to come up, who is our executive director of the museum, and my closest friend, David Reese, who is really doing all the programs for the museum now. Just make a comment or two and comment about the next program that will be next week. Dave, you want to come up, and Travis, and in the meantime? Okay. Jason, it's yours.
Thanks, honey. Hi, Tippy. Hello, everyone. A lot of friendly faces here. It's wonderful that this series has started, and I think we've gotten a chance to kick it off. I'm very proud to be part of the Bemis family. John and I are part of the fourth generation, and like I said, we're very committed to this community, and we know exactly why we're here, and it's because of Bemis and all its employees and the communities that we operate in. So, thank you very much for having us tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Travis first, and then Dave.
Again, just want to thank everybody for coming out. This was an idea that kind of came to us through some brainstorming sessions Dave and I had. You know, being a Sheboygan native, I know the strength of manufacturing in our county. And we thought, what a great topic to cover. When we started out on this, we, of course, had our list, and we had all our top tier ones, which included Bemis Company and some of the others that are coming up. And we said, well, let's start with them. If they don't want to, that's okay. We'll go to the second tier of companies. And the fortunate thing is every top tier company we had on our list said yes. So it was a great start. I want to thank Jason and John, Mike, Bob, Scott, Bob, Mike. A lot of you. Megan, sorry. I think they set a nice high bar for this series of speeches that are coming up this month. So thanks again for coming.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on out and joining us this evening. This is a really neat thing for us to be able to do, as the museum is trying to tackle new territories, find new ways to reach the community, where we can learn more about the community we live in, the people that shape our lives, the corporations that we're inviting here for this series. Having Bemis here has been a real treat. They've sent us some fantastic people to tell the story and share with us all exactly what it is that Bemis does and how they impact our community. It's been a real pleasure to have them here tonight, and I can't thank you individuals enough for joining us. And I want to wish you all a safe drive home. Please come on up, take a look at the things, meet the gentleman and the young lady here who've made this all happen. And once again, thank you all very much.